After you learn about the time value of money, the difference between simple and compound interest, let's apply them from the simple cases. The single sum amount or single amount of cash flows. The first application of time value of money is to calculate the future value of a cash flow. Usually, when we talk about the future value of money, we imply the money is at current. What we want to know is the value in the future. So the formula we use to calculate future value of money is this. So the future value equals I. I is amount of investment at the beginning. We define this present. To determine the future value, we need to know the value of three variables. One is the initial investment or the cash flow at present. Next is interest rate, I. Last one is number of periods. So here we didn't use years, quarters, or month. We use periods because depends on how frequent the interest are compounded. The period may represent different time periods. So as I mentioned in the prior slides, when you calculate either present value or future value, you need to read carefully how frequent the interests are compounded. But to calculate the future value of a cash flow, we just need three inputs. The investment at present, interest rate per period, and the number of periods. If we draw a chart to show the allocation of the cash flows, the timings, we use this time axis. Usually I use 0 at represents the beginning period and n represents ending periods. And 0 as a time point also represents present, while n represents future. Yeah, basically to calculate either future value or present value is to calculate the value at these two time points. First example, you're given the invested amount 1,000. So this represents the amount of cash was invested at the beginning or at the present. 3 years, 10%. So here, 3 years is now periods. The number of periods relies on the frequency of the compounding. We're given the interest was compounded annually. So here, the number of periods is 3. Each period represents 1 year. And interest per period is 10%. All the interest rate you're given is annual interest rate. Okay. So you can calculate based on the formula step by step. For example, $1,000 is future value at year 1. So here today present represents 0. So we multiply this factor. So its value at 1 is 1,100. And I keep accumulating. At this rate, it will become 1,210 at the end of year 2. One more year. So the future value at the end of year 3 is 1,331. Or you can just simply use 1,000 multiply 1 plus 10% cubic. This will be $1,331 after round up or round down. Yeah, basically to calculate the future value of a cash flow, a single amount. So here 1,000 just a single amount of cash flow. We just need 3 inputs: the amount of investments, number of periods, and interest per period. This formula is actually, I can write this way. I is the initial investment, and this section in the brackets represents a future value factor. It is determined by N and I. In the intermediate accounting textbook, you may find a chart to show you the future value factor of a single amount, which is two-dimension table. Here, what I circled is part of the table. This represents the number of periods, the factor N. This represents interest per period, factor I. So based on these two factors, we can find the future value factor. And we just use the future value factor, multiply the initial investment, we can get future value. Okay, instead of using this formula calculate, we can just use the table. Since n equals 3, so we just need the factor on this row. And the interest per period is 10%. Okay, so these two, the intersection, we find the factor is 1.33100. And we just apply this factor, multiply the initial investment, we can also get future value. Okay, so you can use a calculator or you can use a table. We are given the initial investments, single sum 5,000. Interest rate 8%. So this is annual interest rate, while compounding annually. Question: how much will grow in 4 years? So we are given 4 years. Since interest is compounded annually, so the number of periods is also 4. Each period is a year. So you can write down the formula: 5,000 initial investment, multiply 1 plus 8%, 4. Or you can use 8% and 4 to find the factor in the table. Finally, you can calculate the future value will be $6,802. So how to use these to find the factor? 1.36049. Again, we just borrow. So here, differently, it is 4 periods, while 8%, the intersection. This factor is just what we use in this example.